What's up everyone, I'm Gushy and welcome back to the channel. In this video we're going to be going over how to play REINDOG in Multiversus. REINDOG is a highly underrated character who has just amazing damage output, some pretty good aerial mobility, and has two very different playstyles which you can switch back and forth from, either zoning people out with your projectiles or getting in real quick to do some great damage. So in this video I'm going to be going over everything you need to know about playing REINDOG. Right now I am a top 400 REINDOG. I know that's not saying much, but there's not many REINDOGs playing. But hopefully this helps people that are picking up REINDOG, and maybe you'll learn something new if you're already trying them out. So in this video we're going to be talking about the most important moves you should be using and when, those two different playstyles that I mentioned earlier, some combos, and finally at the end of the video I'll be talking through my thought process during a couple of matches, so you know what to do in certain situations. So without further ado, let's get into the video. Starting things off, the most important part of REINDOG's kit is its power crystal or up special. The reason why this is so important is because it sends a lightning bolt down every few seconds, but if it hits yourself, REINDOG gets an attack buff called electrified. When electrified, when you hit an enemy, enemies get shocked and take damage over time. This actually increases your damage output by a lot. So whenever you can, you should always be throwing up your crystal and at least getting that buff. Keep in mind that enemies can destroy the crystal, but if you do get hit by the lightning before the crystal gets destroyed, you will still have that buff active. Now the longer that you hold the ability, the higher the crystal will go, essentially making it harder for the enemy to destroy it, but in some cases it just makes sense to throw it up real quick, get that buff real quick, and then just forgetting about it even if the enemy destroys it. This ability is not on a cooldown, so again, if you have the opportunity, you definitely want to fill this up. Now if the enemy does not respect the crystal and doesn't actively try to destroy it, that lightning bolt that comes down is actually a good combo starter and great area coverage, but really it's just a nice to have and not necessarily needed. Alright, next let's talk about projectiles. REINDOG's projectiles are very important to his kit, and again scales off of that lightning buff that you get through the crystal. First of all, your neutral special is your most important zoning tool and just a great ledge option. Second, your down special throws out a fireball, and when it hits the ground, it lingers on the ground for a while. Now when you shoot the neutral special through the fire, it actually does more damage. So without the fire, it does only 4 damage, but with the fire buff, your neutral special does 13 damage with that ignite buff. So you're getting more than 3 times the damage just with this condition. Down to make it even crazier, if you get the crystal lightning buff, this damage will go all the way up to 17. So again, the damage output is crazy, and if people don't respect the crystal, it's some easy damage. Now because all these projectiles are primarily horizontal attacks, more than likely opponents will approach from the air above you, and this is where your vertical attacks come into play. REINDOG's vertical attacks are actually really strong, kind of telegraphed, but still pretty strong because the hitboxes are humongous and has some pretty high priority. Starting off with the up tilt, the longer that you hold it, the higher that you go. If you don't hold it, it still comes out pretty quickly and is a great combo starter for your up air. Your up air comes out really quickly and is your primary tool to juggle opponents. This combo actually lands a lot, so just get that muscle memory. Once you do an up tilt, always follow it up with an up air. Now say opponents are really good at dodging vertically, or maybe that's just a very horizontal based character, REINDOG also has awesome attacks that cover horizontal movement as well. Just to mention it, REINDOG's ground side special is this move, which does have armor break, but honestly is really slow and I don't recommend it. A much better option is his side special in the air, which does have you traveling a certain amount of distance, so it's a really good ranged option, and you have some decent air mobility while using this move. As you use the move, you can direct it a little bit down or up, and this just helps to follow the enemy's movement, just in case they're jumping a lot. So if we do consider one kind of playstyle, which involves mostly zoning with your projectiles, and the up tilt to play defensively catching jumping people, this is an awesome start to switch playstyles when you try to go more aggressive. Another really great option as a horizontal aggressive move is REINDOG's side air. Now it doesn't have as much range as that aerial side special, but is a 3-hit combo and a much more reliable combo starter. This leads perfectly into your jab combo or jab combo starter. So your side attack on the ground is a 3-hit. If you don't follow through with all 3 hits, after the first 2, you could actually change it up into an up tilt or a down tilt, each with its different purposes. So if you're just going for straight damage, I recommend just following through with that 3-hit jab combo. If you're trying to start some air juggles, go with that up tilt. And if you're trying to get a knockout, the down tilt is your best option. Your down tilt is one of your best kill options. Not the best, but a great option to get enemies off the stage, to follow up with some projectiles, or your most important kill option, your down air. This is one of your most powerful tools, at least in my opinion, to get those knockouts. What's great about this is you can actually charge it to get more damage, but I think more importantly, along with the fact that you can move while doing this, you could time your attacks to hit enemies more consistently. Now, even though this is your best KO option, I've got to admit that KOing opponents is pretty hard with REINDOG. Compared to other characters, opponents actually have to have a pretty high percentage for these moves to KO immediately. The down air KOs at around 130, so really that's your break point to go for those KO options. As far as your other moves go, the aerial side special doesn't knock enemies back that much. As mentioned before, the down tilt is a good option. It doesn't KO at 140, but around 145 it should. And this is just uncharged because most cases you won't be able to charge it fully to land this move, so just keep that in mind. Finally, even though the up tilt is really good, it will not KO enemies, so you will have to follow it up with an up air, and even still enemies have to be pretty high percentage for it to KO. Finally, of course, if enemies are off the stage, your projectile is a really safe option to throw out there, and if it does land, it will probably KO. Alright, next, before we go into some gameplay, let's talk about perks. Unlike some other characters, REINDOG actually benefits a lot from the perk choices that you choose. First, for your signature perk, you should hands down use Crystal Pal. This makes it so that the crystal follows you, one, which makes it easier to get that buff without actively having to retreat to find where the crystal is, and two, as it moves, that lightning it shoots down actually is a great offensive tool when it does hit opponents. Easily a better option for at least 1v1s. And then for REINDOG's minor perks, Make It REINDOG increases your projectile speed by 20%. Since REINDOG is a projectile character, this is hands down an easy choice. The perk that's Flammable Dock, for 3 seconds after knocking back an enemy with a projectile, your team can melee attack to ignite them for 1 second. Again, this goes perfectly with REINDOG's playstyle, switching between a zoning projectile playstyle and more of an up-close combo. And finally, I like to use Tasmanian Trigonometry as my third perk. You get 15 increased base knockback influence. REINDOG is pretty light, so when you do get knocked back, getting that extra influence does help out a little bit. Alright, moving on to the gameplay. This first game is against Bugs, and I really wanted to highlight this match because this perfectly shows the strengths and weaknesses of REINDOG. You'll see how powerful that up tilt is, and why it's a great option because Bugs just has outrageous hitboxes, which beats a lot of my own. It also shows the zoning potential, ideal movements when you should be throwing up your crystal, the weakness of having a hard time getting KOs, but also the benefits of that down air in the right situation. So every time I start a match, try to throw up my crystal, depending on which character your opponent chooses, will depend how high I throw the crystal. Because usually Bugs is an aggressive and in-your-face character, I have to throw it up quickly in an attempt to get that lightning buff. Since this Bugs is playing more passively, I get a chance to fully charge my crystal, getting it as high as possible. Now as you watch the gameplay, notice how I use the projectiles. Because I have that lightning buff, it's in my favor to play more aggressively, so I actually use both projectiles in the air. Both the fireball and your neutral special travel around the same time as your aerial movement, essentially giving you 2 attacks, one with the projectile and the move that you decide to do currently. In this case, I noticed that Bugs is really throwing out horizontal moves with the side air and that punching move that breaks armor, so I'm going for a more vertical attack, making use of my down air and up air to both cover above and below me. As REINDOG, you want to be as mobile as possible as you switch between the spacing playstyle and the more aggressive bruiser playstyle, so also notice how many times I dodge. Dodging lets you reposition really quickly, either letting you get out of situations or closer to the enemy a lot quicker than if you just ran up or jumped to the opponent. Now at this point in the fight, as you can see, I'm doing pretty good at outpacing my opponent through damage. However, like I said, because those KO options are a little bit harder to land, Bugs slowly starts to catch up and gets a crazy down air to spike me before I get to KO them. Again, if you remember those damage breakpoints, 130 is the damage percentage. We're actually looking for only the down air to KO. And as you can see, I'm going for those down airs, but it's just hard to land. In some cases, I try to go for that jab to follow it up with a down tilt, but the range is just so short it's hard to land as well. So honestly, in these cases, it's just better to play normally, rack up more damage, even throw up your crystal, get that buff to get the dot damage with the ignite, and I end up killing him at 172 with a simple jab. So yeah, one of the weaknesses of REINDOG. Now as you get a KO, you should always aim to fully charge your crystal to get it as high as possible. At this point, Bugs has been doing a decent job at taking out the crystal when it's convenient, but as you can see, the higher the crystal is, the harder it is to divert your attention, and it gets a decent amount of damage off of him. Now at this point, I know that Bug's up air and Bug's side air definitely beats a lot of my moves, so again I'm opting for more of a vertical playstyle, throwing out a lot of up tilts and up airs along with throwing out projectiles to get some chip damage. Bugs then makes the mistake of going off stage and recovering low, which is the perfect example of when the down air is at its strongest. So REINDOG could actually stand right at the edge over here, throw out his down air, and his tail actually goes through the stage, making it a great option to safely get those ledge guards. Again, because you can charge it and release it, it makes it a lot easier to time and react to what the opponent does to land those consistent hits. Super close fight, but again shows the strengths and benefits of REINDOG. Next up is a fight against Superman. This match is actually an example of when everything does go right. So in this case, if enemies do not respect the crystal and don't try to destroy it, getting all your setups and getting the max amount of damage with your projectiles, as well as switching between your zoning and close range playstyle, especially as you fight Superman, who does have a lot of priority on close range moves. This map is actually one of the best maps that REINDOG could play, because you automatically have some high ground getting that crystal as high as possible. This map is also good because a lot of REINDOG's moves from the ground attacking upwards are very powerful. Since Superman is opting to stay in the air most of the time, shooting his lasers down, this leaves a lot of opportunities to get some shots in. On the ground, I could just spam the projectiles and dodge away if I need to. Even though the armor that Superman has does go through my moves, the damage from the projectile actually still ticks down. When Superman goes for that flying grab attack, he's very vulnerable if he misses, so those are the opportunities I go in and get some close range damage. Finally, as Superman gets stuck on the side over here, again we're gonna get an easy kill on the ledge with our down air. With that KO, again we're gonna fully charge our crystal to get it as high as possible. Because that crystal is up, you'll notice the pace change. I'm playing a lot more aggressive and in Superman's face. Since these juggles are working really well against this guy, you'll see that jab to up tilt combo to grab him back up in the air. And because that crystal is still in the air, you see some nice combos with that lightning extending the combo chain. At this point, we're doing a really good job at zoning Superman out, and with that electric tick damage, our percentages are pretty even again. As this percent ticks up, he finally goes for a very telegraphed side special, which we can easily get above and do our down air to finish him off. With that, I hope you guys learned something in this video. If you did, please drop a like and consider subscribing. And check out our Multiversus playlist where we have other videos just like this. As always, thank you guys for watching. Hope to catch you in the next one, and peace.